So my name is Fryling. I'm a user experience designer at Price. Today I want to talk to you about building real empathy for your customer through usability testing. So to begin to solve for this, it's important to expose your entire team to the outputs of your usability tests. So for a lot of teams, this means some sort of documentation that you have. That's sort of a rundown of what happened during your testing, what you found, any sort of metrics that you gathered. And with this part, it's important to include some sort of verbatim quotes from your user about what their experience was like. In their own words, what was it like to use your product or go through your experience? The most ideal form of this is having some way for your team to be involved in actually being there for the usability tests, if they're being moderated, or being able to access some sort of recording or audio later so that they can actually see and hear people talking about their experience and understanding what it's like to sort of be in their shoes. This literally seeing and hearing the user go through the experience is very key to this. It's the same reason that myself, I'm a remote employee for Price. I work for our Baltimore, Maryland office out of Grand Rapids. I try to join all our teams, stand up to all of our meetings through video calls as much as I can, because my team and I stay a little bit more on the same page when we can literally see one another, and you can read each other's body language and facial cues, and we just stay on the same page a little bit better. So in a past role, I worked as a user experience designer on a project that was a website redesign for a children's hospital. And so we had these two different design directions for the homepage that we were on campus there at the hospital to present. We had a little bit of a time that morning, so we wanted to use it to do some guerrilla testing. And so while we were there, actually at the hospital, we sort of recruited some families to talk to get some feedback on sort of how we were doing. We learned a lot of really interesting things from actually speaking to these people who are going to be using our site. So there was one family we talked to who said that they loved the hospital, they had a great experience there, but they wished that the parking and that the cafeteria on campus was a little bit more affordable because understandably a lot of their financial resources were going towards the care of the child. We spoke with one mother for whom English was a second language, largely through the help of her 12-year-old son as an interpreter, which made us consider language in a design direction. Another family we spoke to talked about how, thinking about what they would want in this homepage design, is they were looking for this community aspect, is they wanted to be able to read stories of other families who had gone through similar struggles as they had, having a child with a chronic illness. After all these conversations, we obviously had a lot of ideas of ways that we could improve our homepage design and iterate on it already. And later when we stepped into our design presentation, it sort of felt like a complete 180 to suddenly receive what felt like, little UI feedback on things like web fonts and colors when we had just had these really meaningful conversations. Somewhere there collectively we had missed a mark, and I wondered in that moment if our stakeholders had been able to literally hear these families talk about what they wanted and needed, if their perspective on what their product should be would shift from it being this sort of digital extension of their brand to something that could very particularly meet the needs of a group of people who desperately needed it. So in my current role, we recently launched a new section on our site. We've done a lot of usability testing throughout. So in discovery, we were benchmarking ourselves against our competitors. Once our pages were live, we were actually doing more testing. We have plans to continue testing as our site evolves. So across all of these different tests, we've kept our prompt consistent, which has been really important. We asked them, tell us about a recent life event that prompted you to do some investment research. So there were some very memorable things that we learned from these videos. There was one man who talked about how he had to put his elderly father into a nursing home and how he was looking for a way to cover the extra $2,500 a month cost while still contributing to his own retirement accounts. There's another man, his brother had actually recently passed away, and he had to go through all of his financial accounts. And in reviewing this, he realized his brother wouldn't have had enough saved in order to retire comfortably. He would essentially be retiring into poverty. This very sobering realization led him to take his own retirement planning a little bit more seriously. All of these people, you could hear the weight and the stress and the anxiety in their voices as they shared their experiences. I think it can be all too easy to think of our customers very abstractly as data points on an analytics dashboard or as CTR metrics, or just as people who think and act exactly as we do. But the truth of it is that all of these people They're using our products on the best, sometimes the worst, and the most normal days of their lives. And the more that we can stay in tune to that and remain empathetic towards them, the better our end user experience is going to be. Thank you.